this via video conference, and that will be the case for the foreseeable future. I would just like to, I want to make a roll call here of the board, so we've got a good count of who's here. Billy Sherrill. Billy Sherrill.
Billy won't be joining us this evening.
Michael Semaine, I saw him. Michael Semaine, just say here. I think your microphone's muted, Mike. Well, I can see him on here, so he's got his microphone muted.
Right, just do *6.
Okay. Herbert Cook. Herbert Cook. Okay. Cheryl Smith has called. No, Cheryl Smith is with us.
Yes, I'm here.
And Larry Shotty. Is Larry with us? Larry? Okay. Phil Cook is here with us.
Yes.
David Fleming will not be with us tonight. He called and said he would not be able to make the meeting. So Peggy, at least mark down that this was an excused absence for David. Kay Rogers is with us because I've talked to her.
I'm here.
Okay. Okay. Carl Steinbach is with us. Carl, you still with us?
Still muted or?
Does it show that he's with us, Natasha?
I have Carl here, yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, and myself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what I show being present.
Mike,
I should,
Mike, I count 7.
yes,
Okay.
I have 7. The main.
Yeah. I didn't get a response from Billy Sherrill, Herbert Cook, or Larry Shotty, and David Fleming's absent.
Mike, this is Herbert Cook. Can you hear me?
Okay, you're on now. I didn't. Okay.
And
Okay,
Larry Shotty is also on the call.
Okay. Then we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we do have a quorum. And I'd like to, if any of you from the public are listening in tonight, I'd like to welcome you to our meeting. I also want to bring to the board's attention just a little adjustment in the agenda. Item number 5 will be moved down and heard after item number 12. If you want to mark that on your agenda. The next item, item number 3, public comments. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board on any items that are not on the agenda. My understanding is that Mr. Andrew Weir has made a written request to address the board. If you are on, please let me know.
Yes, I'm here, Mike, Mr.
Okay.
President.
Okay, well, go ahead. You can get started. You got your time.
Thank you. I'm Andy Weir. I'm a Bastrop resident. I live out here in Circle D. I have a well in the Simsboro Aquifer. I'm speaking tonight. As you all know, the Vista Ridge project is online, soon to be pumping maximum. And in the Vista Ridge drawdown figures that they produced in their most recent amendment using the new dam, even as far away as I am from Vista Ridge, I will suffer 50 feet of drawdown in my well in 30 years' time. So just using that as an example, Vista Ridge is going to have an impact throughout the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District. And I want to just have the board consider monitoring throughout the district that is going to give us early warning if need be on Vista Ridge. And so that can be done in cooperation with all the other districts in GMA 12 by coming up with a monitoring system that looks at things like Vista Ridge and future permits like recharge or gatehouse now, and what those impacts will be. And so you design a monitoring system that has wells where you're going to need them even 20 years down the road. So then as you require permit holders to put in monitoring wells, you can designate where that well should be done so that it will best benefit the entire district and all the districts in May 12. So it's just to start putting that on your radar so that you can direct staff to work that out as you get involved with GMA 12 as we move forward. Because these projects are here and we need to adequately monitor them. The other thing I wanted to say is while I was doing some research, I was looking at the aquifer maps on the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District website. And those maps were created in 2012. And the data that goes into those maps probably came from a year or two earlier. So that makes these maps about a decade old. And I would like to volunteer through the Lost Pines Water Conservation District, volunteer my time to help to update those maps with well locations, with information about the aquifer, et cetera. So I just want to know that, I think we need to have updated information in the district, and I'm willing to help with that process.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
We can't get it into a discussion tonight, but we'll have a response, especially for the second item, but it may be a little bit longer on the first item. But we appreciate you bringing these two important items to our attention. Is there anyone else on that wishes to address the board? Anyone else? Okay. If not, we're going to move down to item number 4, review and approval of the minutes of the August 19, 2020 regular board meeting. The minutes were in your packet, and if the board is so inclined, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
This is Phil Cook, so move.
Okay.
Carl Steinbach, second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of our regular board meeting of August 19th, 2020. Any questions from the board? Again, I'm going to do roll so we can keep track of who voted. Billy Sherrill still hasn't got on. Michael Semaine.
Aye.
Herbert Cook.
Aye.
Cheryl Smith.
Aye.
Larry Shotty. Larry. Okay. Larry. Okay. Phil Cook made the motion. Kay Rogers.
In favor.
Carl Steinbach, he made the second. The minutes are approved as submitted. Okay, as I said, item 5 will be moved down on the agenda. So we're going to move down to item number 6. This is also an action item for the board tonight. Consideration of the financial report for the period of August 1st, 2020 through August 31st, 2020. Jim, if you want to go over those real quick and give the board a rundown so they're comfortable with the numbers in report, I would appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. So the financial report for the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District for the reporting period August 1st through August 31st, 2020. The operating fund balance stands at $490,287.70. Tax pool fund balance currently stands at $2,925,441.14 for a grand total of $3,364,223.29. Operating revenue collected to date, tracking where we expect to be for this time of year. Not a significant change from where we were during the July financial report. We have collected some additional user fees, but by and large, we're on track for where we'd expect to be. The majority of our line items are tracking again where we expect to be for this time of year, with the exception of the previously noted website expenses. We're on track for the year. We will have to make a budget amendment for that. But in terms of our other line items, hydrogeology, legal, which are our two big line items, are both holding up fairly well, and I have the confidence we'll make it through the year with those without a problem. Architectural services, we haven't tapped into that yet, but we should start drawing on that here in the next couple of months. But everything else, like I say, is above where we'd expect to be at or above where we would expect to be for this time of year. And with the exception of previously noted items, I don't have any real concerns about where we'll be, at the end of the fiscal year in December.
Okay. Jim, I just have a couple of quick questions. You've basically addressed one of them. Our revenue at the end of August 31st was $908,486, which is 68.7% of our budget. We have 4 months left. You feel we'll get pretty close to the budgeted amount?
Yes, sir. I believe we'll end the year, if not exactly at that budgeted amount. We'll be within several percentage points, either above or below, but I believe we'll be pretty much on target for the year.
Okay. As far as expenditures are concerned, we're at 32.1%. So I just wanted to point that out to the board because that's half of the revenue taken in. So clearly we're in a good fund balance position with the expenditures being so low. And Jim, we thank you and the staff for keeping those numbers tight. So appreciate it. Does anyone else have any questions regarding the financial statement? If not, I would entertain a motion to acknowledge the financial report for the period of August 1st through August 31st, 2020.
Semang, so moved.
Okay. Board member Semang made a motion. Do I hear a second?
Shoddy, I will second.
Okay.
Yes, Shoddy will second.
Okay. I'm going to quickly go down through. Phil Cook.
Yes.
Okay. Kay Rogers.
Okay.
Okay. Carl Steinbach.
Yes.
Okay. Billy, have you come on yet? Don't think so. Okay. Michael Messane made the motion. Herbert Cook.
Yes.
Okay. Cheryl Smith.
Yes.
Okay. And Larry Shoddy seconded the motion. So the financials report for the August timeframe has been acknowledged and received by the board. At this time, we're going to go down to item number 7, the general manager's report. And Jim, that's it's your turn now.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. The general manager's report for the period ending or for August of 2020. During this period, we had 15 new well registrations, split pretty evenly between Lee and Bastrop counties. One of those wells was a test well for Bastrop WCID number 2. Having talked with their general manager, I think they're looking at possibly putting in a replacement well. So they did do a test well, looking for a potential new site for that test well. If that moves forward, it's either going to be a replacement well or it's going to be a shared permit well, depending upon what they find. So I'll keep you apprised as we move forward. But they are starting to move forward on trying to get. They've got a well that's just not producing for them, so they're looking for a better well site. So skipping to item C on the general manager's report, there was a request by Luminant to change the reclamation standards for their mine that's located in Lee and Bastrop counties. Director Smith wanted us to take some action on that. I did draft a letter to the Railroad Commission expressing the district's concerns regarding the disturbance to the hydrologic conditions at the well site, or I'm sorry, at the mine site, and concerns that changes in standards for closing the mine and the overall reclamation process, especially with changes to the backfill and the final closures, could potentially impact water quality in both Calvert Bluff and in the Simsboro. And basically, without board action, I didn't want to come out directly in opposition, but I, as strongly as I could, said that the Railroad Commission had a duty to consider impacts from groundwater quality, and the district had concerns about changes to those reclamation plans. So I did want to make you aware that I did file that letter with the Railroad Commission. And touching on that as well is item D, and this is something that Director Smith had brought up, and I apologize, it came up right before the start of the LCRA hearings last year, and by the time the hearings were over, it slipped off my radar. But Director Smith had wanted some more information and wanted the district to look into, in addition to water quantity measurements, doing annual water quality measurements. I've talked with other districts in the area. Post Oak Savannah and Brazos Valley GTD handle their water quality the same way we do, which is basically on a call-out service. Fayette County does the same thing as well, although Fayette County did recently complete a 3-year study where they sampled, I believe, between 250 and 300 wells, and to build out kind of a groundwater profile across their district. I got some good feedback from David Van Dresser at Fayette County about the process they went through for that and the costs that were associated with it. With that being said, in terms of groundwater quality monitoring, we do have the ability to go live to some extent on the testing that our producers are required to do with TCQ, which is more extensive than most of the tests that we would run. So we can build out a database using some of that from City of Elgin, the City of Elgin, Heart of Texas, and Manville wells that are located in the Simsboro, and then pull from the other suppliers that are using the other aquifers to give us a good baseline. But I wanted to put this on the agenda so we could begin to have a discussion about it and see if we want to make a full agenda item next month to discuss building out a rigorous program or how we want to do data handling.
Jim, I would like to suggest that we consider developing a program, and then we bundle that into our budget allocations for 2021. We're getting at the tail end of our budget, and we could spend this period putting together what we're looking at, and then seeing how much it's going to cost. So when we get to the budget for appropriations, we'll have a fairly good idea, the board will, is what this is going to take, and do they want to spend the money?
I think we can make that work. And Director Smith, this was your item. So did you have anything? Were you thinking of one thing that came up?
No,
Okay, go ahead.
Jim. Yeah, this is Director Smith. I just want to say thank you, Jim. I realized that you got really busy this past year, but I am appreciative that it's brought back up, and I agree that 2021 is adequate. And I'm looking forward to us going forward with this. And I also appreciate you sending the letter to the Railroad Commission, regardless if you felt it was neutral. Just the fact that you sent it is very meaningful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And one thing I will say in my discussions with Fayette County, they were attempting to replicate a data set from a study that was conducted in the 1960s. And what they found was that the water quality that they got across the district, when they compared that to the data set from the 1960s, they found essentially no changes in water quality. So while I certainly think that building a data set for water quality is a great idea, I'm not entirely sure that annual monitoring is necessarily something we need to look at, but we can have those discussions as we move down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Possibly do a rolling thing where we do one formation every year as we move forward. But yeah, we can have those discussions. So like I said, that's where we're at right now with that.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim, this is Phil Cook. Concerning water quality monitoring, how many monitoring wells in the district do we have, just sort of in total?
For water quality or for quality?
Well, quantity first.
So for quantity, we've got probably, I believe, 35 spread across the different formations. And we're always trying to add new ones to that in places where we've got holes in our data.
And what would you consider a viable procedure for adding new monitoring wells, say folks who have existing wells and would like to have the district use their wells for water monitoring?
Well, so it's twofold. It's twofold. One, it's going to be, we can always check water levels for people, and that's absolutely fine. But what we're trying to avoid is having clusters of wells in one location. In terms of monitoring for DFC compliance, things like that, it's better to have one good well of defined character that we know exactly where it's completed, how it's completed, than it is to have a half dozen wells that are clustered within a mile of each other that we have limited information on. Or even if we had perfect information, it's still better. That one good well is what we need for DFC compliance.
But my question is, could you use more monitoring wells, private wells that are well documented as to which formation there is and the screening and the pump and all of that?
Yes, sir, but my point is, again, it also depends on their location. If it's in a location where we've already got a couple of wells in the area in the same formation, then that's gonna be less valuable than if it's filling in a gap in data where we don't have wells.
Phil, I just would like to point out that I fully embrace what Jim has outlined, proper location, distancing and all that. But I'm going to push for, in the 2021 budget, that we add additional wells, more than what we've been doing. I think it's very important. The development continues to be coming down Highway 71 and 290, and I would rather be proactive and have wells in than to try to put them in afterwards, especially creating some historical data before we're totally engulfed with development. So that's going to be a big item for me in the budget for this upcoming year.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. But Jim, I don't want to overwhelm you with stuff that's not necessary and not really relevant. But what if you were to receive, say, 10, 20, 30 potential well sites? And then you could, cherry pick the ones that are relevant in the particular formations where you need them, and all of that. Is that viable at your end to kind of do it that way?
Yeah, if at the risk of having my email flooded tomorrow morning, yeah.
Well, no.
Well, I don't want to get, because this is going to be a big, in my opinion, budget item, but I will say, Phil, because of adding additional wells and recognizing that Jim can only do so much, I'm going to also suggest that we go out for an RFQ for engineering services and actually get an engineering study done with the locations and why they're recommending those sites. And then it's just a matter of getting them installed. because we're still going to be dealing with a lot. After the first of the year, we're going to be dealing with a new building. A permit could come in, and I don't want this to be placed on the back burner because of its importance, at least from my perspective.
Mike, I agree with you 100% on that. I think it's a very important thing for us to pursue. Jim, just a ballpark figure, and I know this has to be very general, but how much money would it cost to install monitoring equipment on an existing well?
Monitoring equipment?
Yes, and the installation. I mean, you know, a turnkey where it's usable by you and staff.
So again, there's two questions there. One, we don't need to have daily readings for DFC compliance. We can use DFC compliance. Those decisions we can make based on annual or semi-annual data, which we can gather by sending staff out into the field.
Yeah.
But in terms of actually equipping a well with the well intel system, it's going to depend on a couple of factors, which would include does the well site or the owner of the well have a suitable internet connection? If they do, then it's really just the cost of the acoustic, the transducer, and then a small connection onto their home network that would allow the transducer to communicate. If absent that, then we have to go with cellular modems, which then require either solar power or some other hardwired. So I think the baseline unit is probably 5,000 to 6,000, and then if we start going into cellular modems, solar, and all that, then the price goes up fairly quickly. But I still think between 10 and 12 would probably be the max.
Thank you. I just wanted some idea what I'm asking you to do. Cost wise. Do we need? Is it viable to? Or do we need more baseline data on just the standing water level in wells? Do we need a new baseline on that, or do you consider the baseline we have adequate? Once the changes from the big pumpers starts going up.
I'm going to steal a phrase from Andy Donnelly, our hydrologist, and say more data is better data. So, I mean,
yeah.
more baseline is always helpful. And like I said, we try and add wells every year as we go through. But again, the other thing that we can do is as we start filling in new wells, it's possible we can back extrapolate the fill in water levels to air based on how the wells behave going forward. We can back extrapolate what those water levels would have been like before. So some of that data can be filled. But like I say, adding more wells is always a better thing. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm concerned about that with the pumping. We're going to have folks up in Lee County, especially in northern Lee County, that are going to be affected by a pumping that's been approved in Burleson and sometimes in Milam County. They're going to be affecting well levels. And I just want to make sure we have good baseline data so that we can demonstrate the water level in domestic wells in different formations, especially in Lee County, I believe.
One of the challenges we run into up there is that, especially as you get close to that county line, the formations that we're looking at, the Carrizo and the Simsboro, are more or less exceptionally deep. So finding people that have Simsboro or Calvert Bluff wells in that part of, especially near that county line area where the first impacts show up, there just aren't that many wells to choose from. But as we move
well, I'm not worried just about the folks who have deep wells. I understand that there's not going to be very many, if any, domestic wells in those formations, but I think we should be monitoring wells in shallower formations also.
Well, and we do have some wells in those upper formations, but it's going to take a lot longer, based on the modeling, it's going to take a lot longer for any impacts to show up in the upper formations like the Queen City.
Yeah, and also in the in the recharge zone of some of the aquifers up there that'll be affected, sooner rather than later, probably. Do we have baseline data or adequate baseline data for those wells?
So I'm not entirely sure I follow your line of reasoning there, and I'd be happy to have that discussion with you, tomorrow or at another time, so I can kind of get a better handle on the question you're asking. Because the recharge zones are either going to be, for the lower formations, are going to be significantly further, west, so it's going to take longer for impacts to show up there. And for the upper formations, those impacts you have to transmit through 2 or 3 other formations before they reach the recharge zone in the areas where the pumping is occurring. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I will clarify that with you, but my concern, if the model is not accurate in the formations above the Carrizo and Simsboro, if we do start seeing drawdown in those wells, I'd like to have some data on that, or the ability to get data.
I understand your point, and yeah, if you don't mind, we can carry on this conversation tomorrow. And
okay.
Figure out tomorrow or the next day, whenever it's convenient for you, and that way, you make sure I understand your question. We can bring it back to the board at a later date.
I would like to be part of that discussion if I could, because in essence, what I think Phil is asking, which is a very good question, what items should we be monitoring to establish a comfort level for the board and staff that we are monitoring the right things that will identify how we're doing with the aquifers as well as water quality. I mean, if we go out there and we monitor the wrong things, data is good, but it's got to be good data. And so that to me is the more important item, establishing those items that gives us that information that we can establish a comfort level with.
Thank you, Mike, for articulating what I was muddling through there.
Okay, no problem. Jim, carry on.
Okay, so last 2 items, we are still processing the permit from Manville Water Supply Corporation. Currently, we're waiting on 1 item from them, and when we receive that item, if it checks the last box, we'll be ready to move forward on that application. So it'll probably be scheduled for hearing, optimistically, the end of October, more realistically, probably in November. So that permit is moving forward. Like I say, we're just waiting on 1 last piece of information from them. As far as upcoming meetings, at the time the agenda posted, GMA 12 was scheduled for September 18th at 10 a.m. and it's still going to take place on September 18th at 10 a.m. That will be a virtual meeting. Region K met yesterday on the 15th at 10 a.m. They also met virtually. The next Region K meeting is going to be October 15th. And that should be the meeting where they finally approve the water plan for submission to the state. So that should be the last action for this planning cycle for the regional water planning group.
Jim, if you could send me that website for the GMA meeting, I would appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll get a. If it's not already there, I will make sure it's on the district calendar, and there'll be a link. There'll be a link on the calendar item for the Zoom meeting.
That's all I need. Sorry for interrupting. Keep going. You're doing good.
At this point in time, that concludes what I have. So I'd be happy to address any questions, or we can move on to the other items on the agenda.
Is there any other questions under the general manager's report that the board has a question or something that you would like as an initial starting point for Jim to cover on next month's general manager's report? Well,
Mike, this is Phil Cook. I do have something.
Okay.
It's been on my mind. And the idea is to get board members some sort of a tablet or little laptop computer or something that has all of this Zoom stuff that my computer really doesn't have. And just to make our meetings easier, and I think they'd probably be useful for some other things in the future also.
Okay. We can take that under consideration in the 2021 budget, and we'll look into that. Of course, the budget will be presented to the board for approval. And so if you have items that you would like to be considered, please get them to us, and we'll take them under consideration. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. It was my understanding for item number 8 that Mr. Ellis was going to be on tonight to discuss this item. He did have some legislative issues on a committee he's working. I think it's Natural Resources, that they're requesting a paper. Greg, you there?
I'm here, sir.
I'll take it away.
Okay. I didn't join right at the beginning of the meeting. I apologize for that. The House Natural Resources, well, let me start from the beginning. All of the various House committees have not had any interim meetings at all, obviously because of the COVID pandemic. And they determined that they're not allowed to do remote meetings the way the rest of us are. There's no part of the House rules that can be suspended by anybody to allow for this remote meeting. So instead of meeting, they're going to take written comments, and the House Natural Resources Committee sent out a formal request for information on each of the interim charges, plus 2 additional issues that they raised as part of this request. The only ones that really relate to groundwater conservation districts, well, obviously everything water relates back to water conservation districts, so they will be monitoring implementation of House Bill 721, which has to do with legislation to encourage the development of aquifer storage and recovery and aquifer recharge projects. 722, which has to do with the development of brackish groundwater. House Bill 807, which relates in the regional water planning process, which obviously impacts groundwater planning some, and to updates to the groundwater availability models by the Texas Water Development Board. So those all generally relate to water. If there's something you all would like me to comment on the regional planning process, on brackish groundwater development, or on aquifer storage and recovery or aquifer storage recharge project, please let me know. I don't have any recommendations on any of those topics, and I don't know of anything unique to Lost Pines that would require a comment from Lost Pines on those issues. But if I'm wrong about that and you need to comment, then please let me know.
How much is it going to cost the district, Jim, or Greg, excuse me, to put this paper together for the Natural Resource Committee?
Well, I as far as my part, this is part of your legislative contract you already have with me.
Okay.
So won't be any legal time or on my part, but now there may be some staff time that there is required, and I may need to get some help with it. But other than that, no, I don't think.
Okay.
I'll cost you. No, I'm not going to cost you any money.
Okay. And as I told you last week, I'll be glad to help out any way I can. So
sure.
But you do want an action item on that approval, don't you?
Yes, sir. Because there are a couple things where I do recommend that we draft up some specific comments. Interim charge 3 has to do with the joint planning process for groundwater and the achievement of desired future conditions aquifers by groundwater conservation districts. The primary DFC issues are, whether or not there's adequate funding for the necessary science. Plus, I think the appeal process is too lengthy to be useful, and there needs to be a process, however, to protect minority positions. So my suggestion to you all is that we send in comments, and what I would do is draft this up as a recommendation on this particular charge that I'm going to get as many of my clients to sign on to as possible. The recommendation would be to replace the current appeal process for for challenging DFCs with a petition process requiring a GMA to consider a specific DFC during the next round of planning. And filing the petition could trigger the TWDB involvement that the current petition process does. But instead of looking back at the approved desired future conditions, it would be looking at a specific proposed desired future condition that they would like considered during the next round of planning. So that right now, there's a big problem. As you know, the Lone Star District had its desired future condition petition. They eventually reached an agreement with the petitioners that the current desired future condition was no longer reasonable because of changes in policy by the board and some additional scientific work that they had done. But the GMA was already in the process of planning for the next round of planning. And they said, rather than go through this entire process again, establishing a new DFC for 2016 that's only going to apply for a year or two, we're going to roll this into our current planning process and we'll present it to you when we're finished in 2021. Well, the district was not happy with that result, nor were the petitioners happy with that result. And the district sent in a management plan that essentially said, we don't have a DFC. Water Development Board said that's not adequate. Every plan has to have a desired future condition. So you need to use the 2010 desired future condition because your 2016 DFC has been declared no longer reasonable. So the district went back and they reached a settlement in a mediation process whereby they did put together a new management plan that references the 2010 desired future condition, and they finally got that approved. But they're arguing that there was not any legislative authority to require them to use the 2010 number when it had expired essentially. And of course they couldn't use the 2016 number, so they're wanting legislation to address that. If we adopt my plan where there's not an invalidation of the prior DFC, but looking forward to the next DFC, that eliminates that entire possibility. The management plan would have to be based on the current DFC, and if it gets changed, then the next plan that you come up with would address the changed desired future condition. So what I'd be looking for here is some discussion and questions about this item, and if possible, a motion and a vote to approve joining the other districts in presenting this to the House Natural Resources Committee.
Oh,
It sounds good.
Greg, you're saying that the objective is to express our concern over the length of time for the hearings and the permitting. Is that correct?
Well, not the permitting, the hearings on the process for adopting and challenging a desired future condition at the GMA level.
Okay. Jim, do you want to chime in on any of that?
I think Greg's plan makes a good deal of sense because, like he lays out, you know, the Lone Star was kind of the nightmare case where they got caught with it. You know, basically they couldn't use the old DFC and they were being challenged on the new ones. And so this is a good solution, I think. I'm sure there are going to be some holders and applicants that don't like the idea of not being able to challenge an immediate DFC and having to wait for the next cycle. But at the end of the day, it's a 5-year cycle. You know, if it doesn't change the way that somebody wants it to in this particular cycle, they can basically force the issue to be addressed in the next cycle. So I think that makes a lot of sense rather than getting tied up in court or going round and round over appeals and I'm not using the correct word, but yeah, at the end of the day, I think Greg has a great point on this.
Any of the other board have questions of Greg on this item?
This is Cheryl. It sounds reasonable to me.
Does somebody else want to speak to it? I think one got cut out over the other.
This is Cheryl. I said it sounds very reasonable to me. And
Okay.
so do we just need a motion to
Yes.
join the other parties that Greg is representing on this effort?
I guess the GMA DFC process. Is that what you want, Greg? Is that close enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Then I so move unless anybody else has questions.
okay. Cheryl has made a motion. Is there a second?
Herbert Cook, second.
Okay. I have, pardon?
Am I out of order, Mike, for discussing the item at this time?
No, just let me bring it up to putting it and getting, since we have motion, I just want to repeat it. And then it's open for discussion with what you want to cover. But a motion has been made by board member Cheryl Smith and seconded by Mr. Cook that we authorize Mr. Ellis to work on behalf of the Lost Pines groundwater districts and with other districts in developing a more uniform process in the GMA DFC process. Now, if anybody else wants to add Mr. Ellis a question at this time, please do.
Greg, this is Phil Cook. In your opinion, does this take, is this sort of a move to take some of the prerogative and power away from the GCDs and place it, up the line somewhere?
Oh, no, sir, not at all. The current desired future condition appeal process begins with a petition challenging the adopted desired future condition, which then immediately leads to a report by the Texas Water Development Board and a contested case hearing by the State Office of Administrative Hearings. I'm suggesting that we use something, if not identical to, very similar to that process, but instead of having it apply to the prior desired future condition and having to justify the one that was adopted, it would apply to a proposed desired future condition and whether or not it should be considered by the GMA during the next round of planning. So I think it makes it prospective. The current process already involves the Water Development Board and potentially the State Office of Administrative Hearings, and my proposed changes could do so as well. But I think would be mostly unnecessary if the GMA agrees to look at the requested desired future condition.
Greg, what would happen to all the permits approved in, say, a 5-year span if the DFC is more conservative at a later date?
The great question, and the answer is the same with or without this change. If a desired future condition is changed, or aquifer conditions change, or the science changes, we have better science and better information, and therefore we have to reduce permits, we're going to have to reduce permits. So that's kind of the big fear out there. What happens when our production begins to reach our available groundwater? What happens if our desired future condition has to become more conservative? And the answer is we're going to have to adjust the permits as necessary. So how you address that should be part of your management plan. If you, and really what it should say right now is, if we begin to produce more than our model available groundwater, or if we see that we're not able to achieve the desired future condition, we're going to make the following changes to the permits. And you go through that policy making and how you do it, and, whether or not you recognize historic use, whether or not you recognize a correlative right, how you decide to make those cutbacks on existing permits is a very tough question that should be part of your overall groundwater management planning process.
Thank you.
A long way from getting there right now. Jim can tell me if I'm wrong about that, but I believe right now your existing production is well below your modeled available groundwater.
Any other questions from board members?
Mr. Chairman, is this an action item? Is it on the agenda?
Yes, under legislative, it's item number 8, discussion, conservation legislation related to legislation and or activity occurring that affect or pertain to the district and groundwater. And so it is posted on the agenda, and maybe it could have been a little clearer, but I think it's sufficient enough to know this is the wording that we have every time but I would expect, especially next year as we get into a legislative session, that we're going to be looking at other times where we may have to take some action to respond to the legislature. So,
Well, I'm just concerned that generally we talk about discussion of an item and possible action thereon. And I don't see that here, and I'm just concerned about it, but I yield to council on that.
so
Mike, I think, Director Semeng, I think we would be okay under this, taking an action under this. The item doesn't have to be specific to anticipate every possible outcome. So I believe we could take that action tonight.
Okay.
And really, this is my getting the sense of the board as to whether or not you support what I have proposed. This doesn't have any impact on it. We're not, it's like we're adopting a rule or a policy of any kind. We're simply approving comments to the House Natural Resources Committee. So I don't think anybody is going to be so incensed at our comments that they're going to come sue the board over the adoption process.
Okay.
Greg, could you send Jim Totten a copy of your comments so that you can forward them on to those of us who are interested in them?
I absolutely will.
Thank you.
I want to call for the vote, and this is to, again, for Mr. Ellis to work with surrounding groundwater districts regarding the groundwater management areas and the DFC process. Michael Semeng,
Well, since there's no money involved, according to Mr. Ellis, I would vote yes.
okay. Herbert Cook,
Yes.
Cheryl made the motion. Board Member Cook,
That was
Yeah.
Herb Cook who seconded.
yeah, okay, Herb seconded, okay. Then Phil, you're next. Phil,
Yes.
okay. Kay Rogers,
Yes.
okay. Carl Steinbach,
Yes.
okay, the motion carries.
I have one other topic I wanted to raise with you all if I could.
That's two.
Go ahead, Greg.
Okay, the other issue that was added to this this interim charge by
I'll vote yes too, Mike.
Who was that? Oh, Carl, yes. Okay, Carl, I got it.
okay.
Okay,
That
Greg.
was Larry.
Larry,
Harry.
okay.
Okay.
I got a chart I've developed. So I'm putting this stuff down, so. Okay, go ahead, Greg.
Okay. The other topic that was added has to do with water markets in Texas, specifically the status of water markets and the potential benefits of and challenges to expanding markets for water. I think Lost Pines has a really unique and interesting story to tell when it comes to marketing water. One of the biggest impediments to marketing of groundwater is the 5-year planning process, exactly what we just talked about, the fact that DFCs make change, that the model available, without even changing the DFC, the model available groundwater amount changes every time. As exempt uses expand, the water available under the model available groundwater shrinks. So the numbers are going to change every 5 years. And when you have a 30-year pipeline you need to pay for, and you've got a 5-year planning cycle and therefore a 5-year permit cycle, it's very difficult to go out and spend 30 years worth of water. You all came up with a solution to that through the export permit and through the tiered permit process on several of the permits that you've issued now. I think that that's a really unique and interesting story to tell. I would like to put together some comments with Jim and with Natasha, explaining exactly what happened at Lost Pines, what the problem was, why there was an issue, and how this district addressed it through these tiered permits, and so entirely under the existing statutory and constitutional authority. Again, I think it's a unique story to tell, and I think it's a success story for the district to tell. And Lord knows Lost Pines could use some good PR in Austin. So I think we should tell them every success story that we can. So again, I'd like to get your permission to work with the staff and with Natasha on getting that part drafted up and submitted to the House Natural Resources Committee.
Works for me. I mean, I think this is part of your legislative work with the board. And if I don't hear any objections, because as we said, it's part of what you're supposed to do for us. I'm fine. Anybody else got a comment?
This is Cheryl. I think it's great. It'll be one of our first best practices.
Yes, good point, Cheryl. Well, I'm not hearing anybody say no or wait, so I guess you're good to go, Greg.
Okay, I appreciate it very much. I appreciate your time. I'm sorry I missed the first part of the meeting. And if there's any questions about anything else going on at the legislature, please let me know.
We will. Thank you. The next item is item number 9, consideration of conference meetings and educational opportunity board members desire to attend. I'm not aware of anything coming up, but some of the attorneys may know something, or Jim may know something. I'm just not aware of anything. Anybody aware of anything?
With the exception of the GMA 12 meeting at the end of the week and Region K next month, those are the only things I'm aware of at this time.
Okay, Jim, thank you for reiterating that for us. I appreciate it. Anything else? Item number 10 is consideration of agenda, calendar, and events. Only thing is our next board meeting is on October 21st. And as I said at the beginning of the meeting, we will continue to do this by video conference into the foreseeable future. So we'll see. Anybody else got anything on the calendar? Okay. Item number 11, consideration of and take action on certification and ratification of board action at the August 19th, 2020 meeting to approve the minutes of the July 15th, 2020 regular board meeting and approve the addition of adding Secretary Treasurer Michael Semaine to the bank signatory process. Jim, want to give a quick overview?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. This is, as we went back through and prepared the minutes after the meeting last month, we realized that these two actions were taken without proper motion. And so we're just coming back through to get a proper motion on these items and basically put a check mark by them and close the books on them. Okay. So all we're looking for here is, again, these are actions the board took, but we just missed a step when we approved them last time. So we just need another motion and another vote to go ahead and officially certify those outcomes.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to.
Carl Steinbach moves.
Okay. We'll hear a second.
Phil Cook seconds.
Do I hear anybody?
Second.
Okay. Do I hear anyone?
Yes, Larry Shaw.
Okay, just I can get us quicker. Is anybody against?
Mike, this is Larry.
Okay. Is anybody wishing to vote no? Then the motion passes. Okay. The next one is item 12, discussion on the Zoom video and phone conferencing platform and review how to use the platform. Jim, I guess you put this on. So.
Mr. President, after the last meeting, I had a discussion with Director Steinbach, and he had some suggestions as far as having roll call and things like that, which we were implementing. And he also wanted us to do essentially a practice executive session to make sure that the technology would work and that we could get all of the board members in and out of an executive session successfully. at the time, I didn't realize we were going to have an executive session on this agenda. So it's kind of two birds with one stone. We're gonna go ahead and trust Natasha's technical wizardry to move the board into an executive session for, I believe it was item five that we moved down. So originally this was a placeholder item to give us a chance to try that technology out. But I think we can just move on to item 5 and go ahead and give that a test run and see how it works.
Natasha, I just have a question. Do you want to do all of item 5 in executive session, or how do you want to do that?
Well, Mike, so we previously briefed the board on the Vizino case in July, and also the Natchez and Trinity Valleys GCD case. There hasn't been too much of an update as far as status and procedure goes on those cases. For the Natchez and Trinity Valley, the petitioner to the Supreme Court, Mountain Pure, that's the one that is producing water and claiming that it's not from a well, and the district says actually you are under our jurisdiction, and has sued them under the water code to enforce the water code.
Okay.
So Mountain Pure, they have filed their response to the district's basically reply. So we're waiting on that. As far as Vizino goes, it's on remand, and the lower court's gonna determine these equal protection and taking claims issues. But what I did want to go into executive session on is that we received numerous questions in response to Vizino related to personal liability and immunity, and responses to those questions we feel constitute legal advice. So we would like to go into executive session on those.
Okay.
Natasha, could Vizino executive session also include some discussion of perhaps you submitting an amicus brief on our behalf?
Well, we can talk about that, but
Okay, that's all.
Okay, so just a minute here. You want to adjourn into executive session to discuss, I guess, board liability. But which case do you want it to go under?
we can go in under item 5 pursuant to Open Meetings Act 551.071, consultation with attorneys.
Okay,
Matt Kutak is also on the call, and he'd be in attendance as well.
we will go into executive session on that item at 8:08 p.m.
Okay, now here comes hopefully what is wizardry. And so all the directors,
Dan,
I'm
come
gonna
here.
add you into what's called the breakout room. And so you'll receive a note from me to join the executive session breakout room. And so you'll just have to press join. And Kay, I believe it should automatically, since you're on the phone, it should transfer you in. And if that doesn't work, Kay, then I'll have to connect you through my phone. Okay.
And this will be an email or a message? How's it going to come?
Message through Zoom.
It was what?
It's a message through Zoom. You'll see it pop up on your screen.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay. Because Phil, you're on the phone and you're on the computer.
Yes, I can see, but I can't, I'm on the phone for speaking to the board, but I can see you, yes.
Okay. All right. So bear with me, and it should take a couple of minutes. And then once we end the session, there'll be a notice that goes out to the main session group that we're ending the breakout room.
Mike, for the folks who are listening to us, is there going to be any further business before the board after the executive session?
No, because there's no other action posted for action by the
Good.
board.
I just wanted to be clear so folks could go ahead and get out of the meeting and go to bed.
Okay, but we, just to confirm with you, Mike, we will have to come back into open session to
And adjourn the meeting.
Yeah,
but that's not taking any business.
correct. Okay, if you're ready, Mike, I will start the process for the breakout rooms.
Whenever you're ready. Is everybody back in?
Yep.
Okay.
Cheryl, I'm here.
I'm going to just quickly, if you just say yes. Michael Semaine,
Mike is here. He's on mute.
okay. Herbert Cook,
He's showing that he's here. He's also on mute.
okay. Cheryl Smith,
I'm here.
okay. Larry Shotty, okay. Bill Cook,
Here.
Kay Rogers,
I'm here.
Carl Steinbach, Carl, are you out there in cyberspace?
We might have to, he's showing that he's in, but we might have to mark him not
Okay,
here.
okay. It is now 8:44 p.m. I will reconvene the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District Board back into regular session. There is no action regarding our executive session with legal counsel. So at 8:44, I will adjourn the meeting.